This is Greg Pass with the Americans in Wartime Experience. Today's date is March the 5th, 2022, and I have the pleasure to have a conversation today with Captain Clay Sammis, and we're at the Arlington National Cemetery. Captain, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thank you.
Can you tell us your full name and where you were born?
Yes, my name is Clay Austin Sammis. I was born in Peoria, Illinois. It's where I was born and raised.
Any military veterans in your family?
Grandfathers on both sides. My grandfather on my father's side fought in World War II. He spent time in the Pacific. And then my grandfather on my mother's side was in the Air Force just after World War II.
Did their service play a role in your commission, or what was your motivations to join the military service?
It really didn't. My biggest motivation to join the service was when I was little. My parents, on a family vacation, swung through the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and at first I was dead set on going to the Air Force Academy. However, as I went through grade school and high school, things changed slightly. I became a little bit more aware of the Army and the ROTC programs that different universities offered, and ended up committing to join in the University of Iowa ROTC program.
Gotcha. Prior to your commission, had you ever visited ANC?
I have not, no.
Okay. So tell us about the training that you went through at the start of your commission, and briefly go over some assignments prior to you being assigned to Fort Myer.
Yeah, after I graduated from college in the ROTC program in Iowa, I went to Fort Benning as an infantry officer. I went through infantry officer basic course. There you learn the basic tactics and technical skills needed to be an infantry officer of a rifle infantry platoon. Immediately following that, I attended the United States Army Ranger School, spent some time there, graduated from that, and then I moved to Fort Carson, Colorado. That was my first real duty station, and where I became a rifle platoon leader.
Gotcha. And from there, where did you go?
So I spent some time at Fort Carson, Colorado. I did 2 deployments there. The first one was to Kosovo, and the second was to Afghanistan. I served as a rifle platoon leader, a scout platoon leader, and then a company XO. After my time in Colorado, I transitioned from an infantry officer and became a military intelligence officer. That career course is in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, so I moved to Fort Huachuca, Arizona for 6 months as I did that career transition.
And what was up next after that?
After Fort Huachuca, I received orders to go to Fort Riley, Kansas. Moved to Fort Riley and immediately deployed as part of Operation Atlantic Resolve. So I spent time in Poland, Bulgaria, Romania, and a few other countries in Eastern Europe.
Okay. And at some point you landed here in Virginia.
Yeah, when I was in Europe, that's when I received a message about the Old Guard. I didn't know a whole lot about it, but one of my close friends there, his name was Jose, he came from this unit as a lieutenant, and he told me he had nothing but good things to say about it, and it really sparked an interest in me, and I reached out and applied while I was overseas and ended up getting the position.
So tell us about the position you're in right now and what your duties entail.
Yeah, so I'm the company commander of HHC. So I have 2 platoons in this company. I have the United States Army Drill Team, and I have the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The United States Army Drill Team is the kind of the traveling element of the company. They tour all over the country putting on performances. And what they do is they represent the Army and show members of the public what a professional soldier looks like. The tomb, in addition to securing the tomb right outside here, also kind of has the same mission where they not only secure the tomb, but they're also instilling trust and showing the American people what a professional soldier is, and that way they have some assurances in the military that represents them.
So keeping in mind that a lot of people who might watch this video later on down the road have no military experience, they may have never visited Arlington National Cemetery, you're the commander of the unit, so you're not one of the guys that's actually out there guarding it. Is that accurate?
That's right.
Okay. I don't even know where to start. So this is Arlington National Cemetery is a place where you have people that come from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Your men and women might be the first contact they've ever had with a soldier from the United States. Can you expand on that and the importance and the role that your soldiers play on the world stage?
Right. That's exactly right, and that's what we tell each and every soldier is the interaction that a member from the public has when they visit a place like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It might be the only interaction that they have with a military member for their entire life, and we want them to walk away knowing that they're in good hands, that that we are committed to this profession 100%.
Personally, how does it make you feel to be a part of that?
For me, it makes me incredibly proud to be a part of an organization that can have that large of a reach for visitors who are visiting this site and have that much of an effect.
So allow me to share something personal. Some of my observations that will lead into a question that I have for you. So this is the third day that I've been here this month, and I was here in October of last year. I'm a veteran myself. I interview a lot of veterans. I have never had an opportunity to meet such squared away young soldiers as I have here in Arlington. Mm-hmm. That's honest. I mean, I had interviewed a guy that was only 20 years old the other day, and he was speaking like a professional that's been in the business for 30 years. Why do you think that is? I mean, are you getting the cream of the crop of the United States Army here, or is it the training they're getting here, a little bit of both?
It's a combination of both. One thing, and you may have already heard it, but we have triple volunteers down here. We have people who volunteered to serve in the United States Army. We have people who volunteered to come to the Old Guard, another selection criteria they have to pass through. And the third one, and the hardest one, is them volunteering to come down to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And once they get down here, they're surrounded by other people who have like-minded mindsets, and that's where it breeds that culture of professionalism, that culture of excellence, and elevating the standard just to continue to pursue some sort of perfection.
So you have a lot of assignments yourself, including overseas combat tour duty. What challenges do you have here as a company commander that you may not have had in other arenas?
So there is some challenges, and they are different. However, I can draw on past experiences for a lot of the challenges that I face here. One common example with the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier platoon is we consider them a platoon that's always in contact. They might not be troops in contact, in the mountains of Afghanistan, but they are always engaged with members of the public, and it's in a positive way. So that is where we can draw a lot of similarities and connections and help prepare these soldiers for some of the things that they might see, because you can put them through a strict and rigid training regimen, but there's some things you just can't train for. You can't train for a little kid wandering out on the plaza. However, if you surround them with good mentors and good trainers, they're able to adapt when one of those unforeseen circumstances pops up.
All right, so November of last year, you guys had kind of a big event here. Tell us a little bit about the anniversary and the planning that went into that.
Yeah, so Veterans Day in 2021 was the 100-year commemoration of the World War I unknown being interred right outside here. I guess myself personally, it was probably midsummer where I started to hear the initial planning concept of a flower ceremony taking place out on the plaza, and what that would look like. And throughout the next few weeks, next few months, from hearing about it in July, what we developed in conjunction with our partners at Arlington National Cemetery and other members of our chain of command was a concept where members of the public could come to Arlington National Cemetery, pick up a flower, and then approach the tomb from the north side, lay the flower at the crypts, pay their respects to the unknowns, in a truly once in a lifetime, once in a 100-year opportunity to take place in a memorable ceremony like that.
So as I understand it, that changed operationally out here. They had to change where the mat was. They had to do a whole bunch of adjustments. How did that play out? Did that work well for the Army?
It did. So you mentioned moving the mat. There's a number of things that it's not just as simple as just moving the mat. When we move the mat, there's a number of things that have to happen. When the mat is, it's moved from its current location, there's discoloration on where it formerly laid. So that needs to be cleaned. Then the mat needs to be moved to the other side and placed exactly right. And you can place it exactly right, but it still takes several days for the mat to completely settle and for the edges to be to lie flush with the ground. So it's a process. In addition to that, the guards who are out there every day, they have a new sequence that they have to go through in order to approach the mat on the east side, or the mall side, as we like to call it. And all those factors, they might be small individually, but adding up, it's a change that requires some mental agility to adjust to.
Were the soldiers able to adapt pretty well?
Yeah, they're phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal at everything they do, and they quickly picked up on the new sequence. They spent hours, rehearsing and practicing while the cemetery was closed, and were able to quickly pick up on that new sequence.
So I imagine you had a lot of VIPs. Were there a lot of preparations that went into supporting the VIPs, veterans organizations? Crow Nation, I understand, was here. What kind of preparations went into that, or any observations you had upon their arrival?
Yeah, so we had some dedicated VIP hours. The first hour, the ceremony, was for VIPs, 2, 3, 4-star generals, members of Congress, other dignitaries, visiting the National Capital Region. For that, we're used to having those sorts of personalities here. So it's really not a huge adjustment. We just try and offer the same level of professionalism and courtesy to them as we offer anyone else visiting the cemetery.
What were your observations about the public? I mean, that like you said, I think you used the term once in a lifetime opportunity. Do you think that the public appreciated the fact they were able to get as close as they did to what goes on here day to day?
I did, yeah. For the public that was visiting, I think them, just like us, probably had mixed emotions and mixed feelings about the entire ceremony. I know, for example, the local community where my wife and I live, we even saw on the community Facebook page members of the public talking about it. They were saying things like, "Hey, I don't know if you guys know this, but you can register and lay a flower at the Tomb of the Unknowns. It's a 100-year commemoration that they're putting on." And then I looked at those comment threads and read it, and people were talking about how to register. They were talking about their experiences out there, and they're encouraging others to go and do it because it meant that much and it was that special to them.
So 100 years, it's a long time to go. Do you think that DOD would consider doing this before another 100 years, or what are the plans?
I hope so, and I do think that it will happen again. I don't know if it's going to be another 100 years, but I think it will definitely happen in the future, because it was such a good turnout this past one. I think the future offers a lot of opportunity to make this a regular occurrence. Again, not sure if it's going to be every century or if it's going to be a shorter time frame, but I really hope it happens again, and I hope more people come out and take part in this type of ceremony.
What are some of your fondest memories serving at Fort Myer and at ANC?
That flower ceremony ranks right up there at the top, and if I'd probably say it is one of my fondest memories, from seeing it in the planning phase up through when it started to when it ended, and watching those flowers around the base of the tomb continually grow and grow and grow. It was just, each one of those flowers was a representation of one person coming out on the plaza and in their own ways saying thank you to those who had paid the ultimate sacrifice to this country.
You get a lot of groups of kids coming in on school buses and visits from all across the nation here. If you had an occasion to speak with a teenage boy or girl, and they're like, "Hey, this is really impressive. What kind of operation you guys got going on? I want to enlist in the United States Army, and I want to earn a position, I should say, as a tomb guard." What advice would you give them?
It really depends, I guess, on how old they are. If I had to give general advice, to that type of individual, I would probably just share my own experience. For me, from a very early age, I had that calling to serve my country. I knew that I had that warrior spirit, and I wanted to serve something bigger than myself. And I would tell them to follow that, and to pursue every opportunity that's going to set them up for success for that, whether it's, maintaining good grades in school, being part of team sports, being part of clubs like Boy Scouts or National Honor Society. Just doing every little thing that will give you the experience to lead will set you up for a future and a career like this.
All right, here's the last question, but it's a big one. We're going to give you a copy of this video in a few weeks, and you'll be given an opportunity, if you choose to do so, and I encourage you to do so, to submit the video to the Library of Congress for the Veterans History Project, where they have stories of servicemen and women dating back all the way to World War I. Those videos will be there for hundreds of years from now, and at one point, when your great-great-grandkids might stumble upon the video, what would you want them to know about your service to your country, not just here at Fort Myer, but your overall service?
I would want them to know that for my service to my country, that it's been an honor and a privilege to serve. I can't thank the United States Army, and I can't thank my country enough for the freedoms and the opportunities it's given me. And this is one small way that I can repay my country and repay everyone who came before me and fought for those freedoms and opportunities, to pay that debt back. And that's what I hope my great-grandchildren would take away from that.
Are there any other observations or memories that you wanted to share with us before we stop the tape?
There is one. During the flower ceremony, I can't remember if it was on the first day or the second day, but I met a gentleman about halfway down the line. He was there with his wife, and I introduced myself. He told me his name. I can't remember what it was right now, but he traveled from Northeast Maryland down here for this ceremony. He was telling me about his time in Vietnam. He was telling me about his buddies he served along with, and different experiences he had in Vietnam. As he was telling me this, we just kept getting closer and closer to the front of the line for his turn to go out there. And as soon as it was his turn, he had been talking to me like an old friend for a while. His demeanor completely changed, and he became extremely emotional. I could see his hands starting to shake. I could see his wife trying to comfort him, and maybe 5 or 10 seconds went by, and he gathered himself, composed himself, went out there, laid a flower, and saluted, and then exited off the south side of the plaza. And I talked to him again at the end, and he kept telling me thank you, but I think that he was trying to say thank you for the unknowns that are interred there. That was definitely the most memorable group or takeaway I had from the entire ceremony.
Do you hear similar stories from your soldiers having contact with veterans that have similar feelings when they're here at Arlington National Cemetery? Yeah, stories like that are shared around almost on a daily basis, especially when you get an honor flight that comes in, and to see some of those gentlemen, those ladies who fought in World War II or Korea or Vietnam or Desert Storm, come back here and be surrounded by their brothers and sisters in arms. It definitely strikes an emotional toll, not just with them, but also with us, when we can see those bonds and those experiences that they went through, kind of revisited. I lied to you. I have one more question. I had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Hamry, who was one of the former Deputy Secretary of Defense, and he described the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier as being special and unique. What do you think makes this place unique in the American landscape?
Each person would probably answer that differently, but to me, it's still a unifying symbol. It's something that everyone who visits rallies behind, and shares similar values with when they're within the presence of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Well said. Well, on behalf of the Americans in Wartime Museum, I thank you for your time with us today. And
Thank you.
More importantly, thank you for your
Yes,
service.
sir. Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.
You too.